Good Morning San Antonio starts right now.
Good morning. It's Wednesday, the 27th.
All right, pandemic. The biggest thing about all of this, they're telling us social distance, social distance, social distance. Well, how do you feel about someone monitoring your every move to make sure you're social distancing?
Okay, so here's the deal.
What's the deal,
And
Pickle?
you may be skeptical about this. I am a little skeptical about this. The article, new devices could track employees' movements to maintain social distancing. The question is that the only thing that they would be tracking?
Yes. Some workers may be required to wear monitoring bracelets or badges to track employees. These are companies that might start doing it so they can make sure that their employees are social distancing.
Yep. So these devices include bracelets that can be worn around the wrist, or badges can be worn around the neck. Companies like one's called, I think it's called Arista and Redpoint, looking to utilize Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and radio signals in products designed to help companies monitor employees' exact locations.
So the concept, employees would wear the devices, and whenever they get too close to another employee, the device would issue some sort of notice, and depending on the settings, it might sound a warning. For example, beep, 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 step away from your coworker.
That's not what it would do. That's not what it would do.
Maybe
Wouldn't it be great if there was one, though? It was Leslie's voice, step away from the coworker.
It would happen.
Or a cute beep, beep, beep. The devices could also be used to keep a log of each instance and even to track employee interactions.
Wait, this gets better. Hospitals are already using the devices to monitor employees' movements through, I think, according to Slate, who wrote this article. The devices can be placed on door handles, sinks, and soap dispensers to recognize when a lanyard is nearby, and then it tracks the employees, and it can tell who is and is not washing their hands.
All right, Redpoint said in a recent release that companies in China are already utilizing its technology to help enforce social distancing measures, but that's China, where they're doing more than just tracking your social distancing.
That's a little scary to me.
A little bit.
A little scary. Let's take a look at your rundown.
Growing outrage in Minneapolis over the death of a black man in police custody. Thousands of demonstrators taking to the streets. The FBI is investigating the case, and 4 police officers involved in the incident have been fired.
A black man who was bird watching asked a white woman to put her dog on a leash. The woman threatened to call police when the man refused to stop recording. After the video went viral, she apologized, but she's now been fired from her job.
U.S. death toll from COVID-19 is closing in on 100,000.
There are also signs of progress, though, in the war against the virus.
In New York, Long Island beginning to reopen, leaving New York City as the only region in the state still shut down.
More than 62,000 healthcare professionals contracted coronavirus in the United States. That is a big jump from the more than 9,200 the CDC reported back in mid-April.
President Trump is now accusing Twitter of interfering in the 2020 election. It comes after the social media site put fact-checked labels on some of his tweets.
Underneath the tweets, a link added by Twitter reading, "Get the facts about mail-in ballots."
Last week, the Treasury Department announced it would issue about 4 million stimulus payments on debit cards and mail them out. The IRS says some payments may be sent on a prepaid debit card known as the Economic Impact Payment Card.
If you're in the market for a car, we have some good news. The bankruptcy of Hertz Rental Car Company could make this summer a great time to buy a used car.
About 100 more Apple stores will be back up and running this week, but the company says even though the stores are reopening, most of them will offer only curbside or storefront services.
Hard Rock Stadium, where the Miami Dolphins play, is being converted into a drive-in. 230 cars can fit into the stadium and onto the floor there. Nowhere yet on when the first movie will be shown. The new social distancing plan at Burger King. Restaurants in Germany have created giant Burger King crowns to keep customers apart.
Just silly. You know, I think if you could make
You think?
a drive-in movie theater happen, if you have, I think they would do very, very well. Not only now, but for years to come. I think it's nostalgic for a lot of ways. I remember when my dad was first stationed at Randolph, the Judson 4 drive-in movie theater at 35 and Judson. You couldn't miss it from I-35. Those 4 big screens right there on the eastern side of the interstate.
Oh, yeah, growing up, they were everywhere.
Yeah, they were.
We had several of them in our hometown, and we loved it. Of course, you get in some trouble too, but not me personally.
A little bit. And I know there's a few out there. I think there's one in New Braunfels that does pretty well.
Yeah, so a year ago, I think.
Just hopefully more and more will start to come back, especially with the new normal. I think it'd do very, very well.
I agree with you. As we take a look outside with live cam, beautiful Justin out there right now, but we still are looking for potential severe weather this afternoon?
Potentially. I think we could see a few storms, especially north and east of San Antonio tonight. But most of today is going to be pretty nice. We started off really nice this morning. Temperatures have been in the 50s and 60s in some cases. The air dried out a little bit this morning, allowed temperatures to drop. 76 right now, 69 still in Kerrville. Very nice there. 72 Rock Springs, 75 for our friends out there in Gonzales. And forecast for today, we're going to be up around 91, so it is going to be a warm day with some of those evening storms possible. And again, a few of those could be on the stronger side. There's a look again at some of the numbers around the area. 69 Floresville, 77 Pleasanton. And the pollen count is in. Yes, mold is still high, but this is good news because it was down. It's down significantly from where it was yesterday. It's at 4,800. Hopefully that continues to go down. Here's what the forecast looks like. 90 by 5 o'clock, but 84 by 8 o'clock, 74 midnight. There's that 40% chance of storms. And there is a window for some severe weather. We're going to break it all down for you. We've also got some tropics to talk about. We're also looking at the weather out there in Cape Canaveral for the launch today. So a lot in the weather going on. We'll have more on that in just a bit. Guys.
Thank you, Justin. There's 35 Schwab Road. Some construction here or there around town. Traffic pretty light. No problems to report there at 35 at FM 482 and quickly jumping around to 281 at Hildebrand.
New this morning at 9, a woman is facing charges after police say she crashed into an officer's patrol car. San Antonio police tell us the officer was diverting traffic on an accident call on the 400 block of Southwest Loop 410 just before 1 this morning. He was sitting inside his car with his emergency lights on.
Police say 30-year-old Anabel Karina Hernandez Benavides swerved to avoid slowing traffic and hit the officer's car. The officer suffered minor injuries to his neck and refused treatment at the scene. Police say it appears the woman was under the influence and had 4 children under the age of 15 in the vehicle with her. She is now facing 4 charges of driving while intoxicated with a child.
Other top stories that we're following for you today. San Antonio police are still trying to track down a missing 10-month-old girl.
Yeah, they believe Rhiannon Sullivan may be with her biological mom. Police say Rhiannon's mother was recently ordered to give the child to Child Protective Services. Rhiannon last seen Sunday wearing a pink onesie over in the 6200 block of Ridge Lake. She has brown hair, brown eyes, weighs about 20 pounds.
If you have any information that could be helpful in this case, you're asked to call 210-207-7660.
This morning, City of San Antonio giving away free supplies to small businesses and nonprofits.
The Greater Safer Together Supply Pickup Day is taking place at the Alamo Dome. The city will be giving out a safety kit with a contact-free thermometer, 2 gallons of hand sanitizer, and face masks. Businesses will have to pre-register online or call 311 to receive the supplies.
Our Garrett Berger is at the Alamo Dome covering the story for us. I'll have a live report coming up today on the news at noon.
Governor Greg Abbott will be holding a press conference this afternoon to give an update on the coronavirus pandemic here in Texas. A
rep from rather specifically, Governor Abbott will be talking about the surge in response efforts in Amarillo, where there's been an increase in COVID cases. A representative from the Texas Division of Emergency Management, Amarillo's mayor, and the Amarillo Public Health Director will be joining in.
The press conference is expected to start at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and of course, you can watch it live right here on KSAT 12 and online at KSAT.com.
In today's Wish List Wednesday, KSAT Community is highlighting San Antonio Threads, a nonprofit that provides clothing and essential items for at-risk teens in the San Antonio area.
San Antonio Threads is in need of donations and volunteers. Some donations needed include non-perishable foods, deodorant, toothpaste, body wash, feminine hygiene products, and new packages of adult underwear.
You can drop off donations Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 10,446 Sentinel Street. You can also find more information right now on KSAT.com under the Features tab.
And checking your morning headlines, Congress is getting to work today on parts of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. And we're going to show you a hero saving 2 folks from a burning car.
What would you do if an actual bear was following you in the wild? We'll show you how a 12-year-old boy handled the situation. We also have a simple acts of kindness and patriotism getting a lot of attention this morning. David Sears is here.
That bear story is something else.
Yeah, this kid showed a lot of poise.
Yeah, he's braver than me for sure.
A lot of smarts. And just sometimes it's the simple things that get the attention and well-deserved. We'll have that for you in just a second. But first, while a lot of Americans are physically going back to their workplace, members of the House of Representatives decide to get back to work, but not in Washington. They'll try to take care of nation's business by proxy. One of the first orders of business, the FISA program, they are looking at different provisions of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. NASA security officials want to have broad discretion when it comes to making internet searches. The program is supposed to be directed at foreign espionage, but there are members of Congress who are afraid it could be abused and used to spy on U.S. citizens. There is a concern it infringes on civil liberties. The president has threatened a veto if the provisions pass. And there is a hero in Andover, Massachusetts. That is a Good Samaritan pulling a crash victim right there. You can see the crash, the car back up here in flames on the side of the hill. That guy ran across the interstate, pulled 2 victims to safety. There was a driver and a passenger in that car, both badly injured. The guy who was shooting the video and trying to help said he could feel the heat from the car and the blast from the tires and gas tank. He was just happy to see somebody else there to help the victims.
We really appreciate that one guy stopping, because you just never know. You know, you never know when it's you that's stuck and need help, and people are just like, oh, well, it's not my problem. You know, it's just someone could be dying.
Yeah, you can see the guy actually stayed with one of the victims, hold his hand, waiting on that ambulance to show up. Both the driver and passenger were transported to the hospital. No word on their condition. The hero did not reveal his name, at least not yet. And yes, that is a boy back there, right there, and that's a big old bear following him. He's going down the hill. This happened in Italy. The 12-year-old stayed calm, cool, and collected. Alessandro was in front of the rest of his family when he told his dad to start recording. The bear never got aggressive. Alessandro said he has been learning what to do if he ever encountered a bear. Good thing, because he encountered the bear. Said he never looked the bear in the eye, didn't want to show aggression, but he did get some great video. Way to go, Alessandro. Ooh. And finally, an awesome show of patriotism, even if it's just a simple act. The UPS guy delivers a package to the door. As he's leaving, he notices the flag is all wrapped around the flagpole there. So he takes the flag out of the holder, unwraps it, and then hangs it back up and goes away. The homeowner spotted the good deed when she checked her camera phone app.
That flag stands for so much. It's so heavy. And I want everyone to know how much we respect our vets. Just something uplifting and positive right now because of everything going on, right now.
Yeah, you can even see one of the veterans watching and actually shedding a tear. She was so moved by it. Don't know who the UPS delivery guy is yet, but he is getting a lot of
Okay, that makes me cry a little bit.
On social media.
That's awesome. Well,
yeah.
There's the saying, something like character is really what you do when no one's watching.
No one's watching. And just, I mean, how long did it take? Was just a simple act. Just
seconds.
Flag out, unfurl it, and put it back in.
Fantastic.
And usually when you see this kind of video, it's because someone's stealing something.
Yeah.
It's not because someone's doing something nice. So that's really nice to see.
Well, he stole some hearts and some minds of
Good point. Good job, David.
Thank you, David. Right now we are at 9:10, 76 degrees. Still ahead on GMSA at 9.
If you need some comfort food, Krispy Kreme has you covered. You can grab some free donuts next week.
What did you say?
Free donuts.
Thank you. A historic journey to space from American soil could happen today. Countdown on for the first ever crewed mission for SpaceX, taking to the stars. We have a preview coming up in this newscast.
Well, losing his mother, switching schools, and changing lifestyles was not easy for today's great graduate.
But now Tristan Cantu is thriving and ready to take on Washington, D.C. Max Massey introduces us to the senior from St. Mary's Hall.
I pretty much didn't even finish the 6th grade year. We spent the whole summer in the hospital and all that. And she passed away right before I started 7th grade.
It all happened so fast.
Pancreatitis. She just wasn't feeling well on Memorial Day, wasn't feeling good at all. That Monday we went into the hospital and she pretty much never came out.
And the Cantu family would never be the same.
It was very hard. It was unexpected, very difficult. I know what I went through. I just can't imagine how it affected him.
I remember a lot of the time being in the hospital with her, and she never gave up. She was just a great person. I loved her so much. I think about her every day. She really inspires me a lot.
She basically said that no matter what, he's going to go to school somewhere in San Antonio.
Going through that tragedy, changing your lifestyle and changing schools can be difficult for anyone. But for Tristan, it eventually snapped into place. He found his path, and now he goes above and beyond just to get his education.
It's about 40 minutes. It's long. There's traffic.
It's a long drive every morning, and it has been a long path to get here.
I'm going to George Mason University in the fall, and I'm going to major in criminology.
As for other students who have gone through or maybe are going through similar circumstances, Tristan has a piece of advice.
Even though things look hard right now, just keep your head up, work, and keep working, and you'll get to where you want to be.
Max Massey, KSAT 12 News.
And good luck at George Mason University there in Fairfax, Virginia, right outside of Washington.
Beautiful area.
It is. Let's go right to Justin now. Lots to talk about once again today, Justin.
We could see a few more storms tonight, although we're starting off really nice. Take a look at the low temperatures this morning. This feels great. 65 a little bit earlier here in San Antonio. Got down to 57 in Kerrville and Fredericksburg. But temperatures will start warming up here very quickly. We've got mostly clear skies. A few clouds there off in the distance, and temperatures right now 78 degrees. Look at the dew point, 70. The dew point was down quite a bit this morning. That's why temperatures fell off, but very quickly the moisture has moved back in with south-southwesterly winds at about 13 miles per hour. You can see some of that cloud cover trying to work in from the north, and we'll see some off and on cloudiness today, but still plenty of sun as well. Temperatures 75 in New Braunfels, 72 Bernie Stage, 72 right now in Hondo, and some 60s still on the map. Fredericksburg to Kerrville up to Junction. And last look at the radar, there was a little shower up there just north of Fredericksburg. We'll keep an eye on that. This flow where we get it out of the north and west, always a little tricky. You always get a little disturbance mixed in there that can kick off some showers. But dew points right now in the low 70s here around San Antonio and Pleasanton, so the moisture is back in a big way. And as we look at the big picture here, we've still got our upper level low spinning, so a lot of unsettled weather here from Arkansas back into Texas. We're sort of on the tail end of things here. And then as we look over towards Florida and the Carolinas, check this out. We have a new tropical storm just formed, but it's already making landfall. So this is going to be a short-lived tropical storm. Bertha, winds are at 45 miles per hour. And the big story with this is just going to be the heavy rain for parts of South Carolina and North Carolina. And also, back over towards Florida, we mentioned the launch today. It looks like there's a few showers around. They're going to be watching the weather closely for that. Water vapor shows our big upper level low spinning here. The flow out of the north and west. So we have a little piece of energy that's going to round the corner here around this low, and that's going to be moving south today, and it's going to follow that flow. So we got to watch what happens up here and see if some of that activity swings down into our area. Storm Prediction Center does have the areas to our north in a enhanced risk. So what does that mean? So on a scale of 1 to 5, that's about a 3. That's fairly high. They think hail, gusty winds, the main threats. Can't rule out a few tornadoes. And that's mainly going to be north of our area, up I-35. But even San Antonio is still at a slight risk. So this is what our futurecast looks like. This is 5 o'clock this evening. We start to get some of those storms developing north and west of Austin, and they very quickly start to go south. So around 10 o'clock, we could see these come together in sort of a cluster and then work their way south and east with that flow, basically moving into our area during the overnight hours. And they probably will have weakened a little bit by then, but we still could see some stronger storms, and we have to keep an eye on it. By 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, most of this is going away, and then tomorrow afternoon we'll have to look for some redevelopment. Another little disturbance moving in may kick off some showers and storms, especially to the west of San Antonio. And then I think after tomorrow, the pattern really does quiet down, and we'll get some good weather going into the weekend. Forecast for today, 91 by 5 o'clock. We'll look for a 20% chance of some storms up there in the hill country by 8 o'clock, and then midnight we'll go with a 40% chance of storms around here. Coming up tomorrow, 88, 20% chance of rain, and then Friday partly cloudy, 89. And you'll notice weather's pretty quiet weekend into next week. Temperatures right around 90 degrees over the weekend. Guys.
Thank you, Justin. Right now it's 9:20, 78 degrees.
Still ahead on GMSA at 9, a teenager in Florida is using her birthday as a way to bring awareness and raise money for her local food bank. Sarah Costa will tell us how you can help her out, and your good news roundup coming up next.
Looks like a perfect warm cup of coffee on a sleepy, cozy morning.
Sarah Costa joins us live from home with her coffee and this morning's good news roundup.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is. Good morning, Sarah.
Tell us something good.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, I'm drinking something good. Nice and warm coffee with some cinnamon in it. And I have some really good news for you guys in today's good news roundup. So during the pandemic, the news can get a little heavy, and it's always really heartwarming to hear these good stories of people stepping up to the plate, just like this nurse did in Virginia. So an anesthesia pre-op nurse from Virginia answering a call for help in New York. Rachel Hartley quit her job, boarded a 50-foot sailboat with her husband, and took a contract at NYU Langone Hospital. She works overnights with some of the sickest COVID patients, then returns to her boat in the East River, where the marina gave her a slot to dock for free. She calls work sad, but rewarding. Way to go, Miss Rachel Hartley. And Mark and Leslie, what are your favorite type of donuts?
Pretty much any kind. I just want to see if she'll actually take a bite of one.
I'm not a big sweet person, but if I do splurge, I like the cake kind.
The cake kind. Yeah, those are pretty good. I also like the maple glaze.
I like, I'm gonna have to agree with Leslie on that if she takes a bite of one. I like the pink ones too. I take too many bites of them. Well, you can enjoy donuts for National Donut Day, which has been extended to a week-long celebration. My pants are going to need an extension after that week-long celebration. So for months, the concept of time and days has been a blur. So Krispy Kreme says, if a month is feeling like a year these days, why not make a day feel like a week? Next week, June 1st through 5th, Krispy Kreme customers can get a free donut of their choice. The official National Donut Day is usually June 5th. The free hot glazed donut or any other variety you choose are available Monday through Friday next week. No purchase necessary. Krispy Kreme is even making them available at the drive-thru. So get the sweatpants out, Mark and Leslie, if you're going to take advantage of this every single day of next week.
Amen. Stretchy pants are good.
I might be wearing stretchy pants right now. It's my secret that I'm giving away.
Good for you. You can do that.
Reporting from home, right? Well, here's a Florida teenager who uses her birthday in a very special way every year. She raises money to help feed the hungry in her community. But this year, Kennedy McCormick is turning 14. She was presented with a challenge. This pandemic and quarantine threatened to sideline her donation efforts. So this is what she came up with, a virtual food drive complete with a piano recital from the birthday girl herself. Her only request, money and lots of it for feeding Tampa Bay.
We are so thankful for Kennedy, who's been with us supporting Cereal for Summer since 2015 in creative ways each year, this year with her piano recital. The fact that she's been able to raise over $3,000, which is 30,000 meals, is a testament to the idea that everyone can do something to support our neighbors in need.
Way to go, Kennedy. She is still collecting those donations and is already planning her birthday giveaway for next year. Reporting live from home, I'm Sarah Costa, KSAT 12 News. Mark and Leslie.
Who needs John Krasinski when we have Sarah Costa? Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
With some good news. More ahead on GMSA at 9.
We are just hours away from a historic launch in Florida. Humans will be heading to space from American soil for the first time in a decade. A preview of the launch and how you can watch it live.
Reservations now open for overnight stays at Texas State Parks. Erica Hernandez explains what you need to do to secure your spot.
Well, there has been a whole lot of talk about antibody testing for COVID-19, and now the CDC has released some new guidance. CNN's Karen Kafa is live to explain. Coming up next. Welcome back.
Yeah, outside with live cam right now. Things are calm right now, but if you have space in your garage for a vehicle or your vehicles, go with that going into tonight, perhaps.
Yeah, especially if you're north and east of San Antonio. I think that's a place, or even up towards Austin, where severe weather's a good possibility a little bit later tonight. We're going to diagnose that entire forecast for you coming up in just a bit. First, though, we got a little bit of severe weather yesterday, too. Storm popped up. Moved through the northeast side of San Antonio, dropped some hail. This is Lavernia. You see the hail sort of piling up there. It kind of looks like snow, but some reports of up to quarter, even golf ball size hail yesterday with that storm. It was one lone storm, but it did do, well, not a lot of damage, but it did drop quite a bit of hail. Looking at the radar right now, you can see we still got our upper level low spinning, and there's some energy there on the backside. That's what we're going to be watching a little bit later this afternoon. what happens to our north up there around Austin. If we can see some storms developing, they may grow into a cluster and work their way into our area tonight. Temperatures right now 78 degrees at the airport, 76 Port SA, 72 Hondo. And here's what the forecast looks like. 91 by 5 o'clock, but we'll start to look for some of those storms around 8 p.m. 20% chance of some storms, and then a little better chance as we get towards midnight. Southerly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour today. Again, we'll talk more about those storms and how long they're going to stick around. That's coming up here in just a few minutes. Guys.
Thank you, Justin. 35 is looking good. So is 281 at Nakoma on TransGuide.
COVID-19 continues to infect thousands of Americans daily, and as states move into their reopening phases, health officials say Americans need to get used to social distancing and mask wearing.
CNN's Karen Kafa joined us live from Washington this morning. Karen, a key researcher saying masks will be crucial to what happens in the U.S. over the next couple of months. What is he seeing in the potential numbers?
Yeah, Mark, this is that key model from the University of Washington that the White House talks about, that we've been talking about so much. And yesterday they revised their projected death toll downward by about 11,000. So now they are expecting 132,000 overall American deaths from COVID-19 by August. And they said that's because they haven't seen the spikes as states have reopened, but they still want Americans to remain cautious. And they said a big part of that is going to be wearing masks, wearing those face coverings, and also keeping appropriate social distancing. They at the University of Washington, those researchers, and also Dr. Anthony Fauci in an interview this morning reiterated this. A lot of what happens over the next 1 to 2 months, that depends on us if we take the appropriate precautions. So really urging people to wear masks. The University of Washington researchers say that there is an effectiveness there, that they believe that you can block about 50% of transmission that way, that these masks are working. But if people start to ease up on their own habits, it's going to take an impact on the overall numbers. And remember, these numbers lag, and so it's going to be another 1 to 2 weeks or so before we really see the impact of everybody out and about for Memorial Day, how that plays into the numbers, Mark.
Well, when it comes to safely reopening and getting people back to work, of course, there's a lot of weight that has been placed on the idea of antibody testing, but the CDC has some new guidance on that. So what can you tell us?
Yeah, absolutely, Leslie. We heard this so much when states were beginning their reopening that they really wanted to ramp up that antibody testing to detect if people had the antibodies, had the virus, even if they hadn't necessarily displayed symptoms or been sick enough to go to the doctor or be hospitalized. And there was the sense that maybe there would be some sort of immunity to the virus with those antibodies. But of course, the World Health Organization has said there's not enough evidence to determine that just yet. But as this antibody testing becomes more prevalent in some, including the hardest hit states, in getting their people back to work, the CDC really wants healthcare professionals to be cautious how much stock they put into these antibody tests. They say that nearly half of the time they could be wrong, and that includes both false positives, giving people perhaps a false sense of that immunity that came with having the virus, and also false negatives. They're also advising that public officials, those who make those decisions about reopenings and moving to the next phases of reopening, that they don't place too much stock in these tests. And so if you do get one of these antibody tests, the CDC suggests that maybe healthcare professionals do it more than once to make sure they're getting the same accurate results. Leslie.
CNN's Karen Kafa live in D.C. Thanks, Karen. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Karen. History will be made today at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. It will be the first time in a decade astronauts will head into space from U.S. soil.
And while we are excited, this is dangerous business. ABC's Megan Tiverizzi has more on the risk involved.
This morning, it's mission countdown.
3, 2, 1. Ignition, liftoff.
SpaceX ready to make history, launching its Dragon space capsule with 2 NASA astronauts inside. The goal, prove private companies like SpaceX can deliver astronauts to the International Space Station.
It's certainly an honor to be part of it.
NASA astronauts Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley will be on board.
I think continuing to push into space challenges us as Americans, challenges us as scientists and engineers, and I think that continued push is important.
If the mission succeeds, it will be the first time in nearly a decade that American astronauts will be free from paying another country for a ticket to space. Until now, the only way to get to the space station was to pay Russia at a price tag of nearly $90 million.
This is huge. Okay, it is huge for NASA.
It is huge for our country.
But SpaceX has had its troubles in the past.
Data coming back shows vehicle on course, on track.
Losing a Falcon 9 in 2015 and another rocket in 2016. And just over a year ago, an explosion destroyed a SpaceX Dragon capsule like the one scheduled to launch today. NASA putting the odds of catastrophic failure at 1 in 270.
There's risk with going to space. Space is hard. But we understand the risk. SpaceX understands the risk. So we'll be ready.
Megan Tavrizian, ABC News.
Launch is scheduled for 3:15 this afternoon, San Antonio time, assuming weather conditions are good. You can watch it live right here on KSAT and online at ksat.com.
And check this out, everybody. In true Florida fashion, an alligator was spotted near the launch site last night. Reporters spotted the 6-foot gator just a few feet away from them. Luckily, he doesn't seem to... Oh, bye-bye. Shoo.
Later.
Go. Shoo. See you later, alligator.
Gator. Hey, a handy dad has become the internet's newest sensation with his How to Fix It videos.
Robert Kinney is his name. He started his Fix It YouTube channel, Dad, How Do I? It was in April 1st to be exact. That's not a joke. He wanted to make fatherly how-to videos for his own children.
Last thing he expected was to become the new internet sensation, gaining nearly 2 million subscribers, or as he calls them, new kids, in just a few short weeks.
He said, I just inherited 1.6 million kids as of this morning. The number has grown to 1.97 million. He said, I had no idea Dad, How Do I would take off like this.
Inspired by all the adulting questions he received from his daughter, Christine, Kenny started making videos to share with his kids and hopefully his grandkids one day.
He said, my daughter and I talked about this stuff all the time, about adulting and how to do stuff. So I mentioned it to her and she said, Dad, that'd be brilliant. So he did it.
Yeah, like cleaning out a drain plug and stuff like that. You know, he said, you know, there are over 500 other sites, 500 other channels that will tell you how to tie a tie. One of the things is kindness. I've been trying to do kind and loving, he said, and add that the internet doesn't have an algorithm for kindness.
That's why he thinks his is so successful, when you can find out how to, as you said, tie a tie anywhere. So since launching the channel, he's received an outpouring of support from strangers who have connected with his story and the message behind his videos.
I get emotional. I put out a video. Basically, I said, I'm proud of you. I love you. God bless you. And some comments, they said they've never been told that someone is proud of them before.
So be vulnerable to your kids by not trying to act like you've got it all figured out. They're going to find out eventually you are not perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Kenny. 9:39, 78 degrees.
You're watching GMSA at 9. Dating in the age of coronavirus can be difficult. That's why a local restaurant is hosting a socially distanced speed dating event this weekend. And Erica Hernandez has all the details coming up next.
Many stories trending on KSAT.com this morning, including some new protocols and requirements that will be implemented at Six Flags Fiesta Texas when it reopens.
With more details on that, Erica Hernandez joins us live from home this morning. Good morning, Erica.
Hi there.
Hey guys, long time no see.
I know, we miss you.
I miss you guys too, but let's start first about Six Flags Fiesta Texas. Now, there is no reopening timeline, but the company is already rolling out a new system and layout to keep guests socially distanced. Now, in addition to an online reservation system to manage attendance, parks will have thermal imaging for temperature checks, touchless bag checks, and expanded mobile food ordering. Also, everyone older than 2 years old will be required to wear face masks throughout the day. Anyone without a mask can purchase one at the front gate. Now, as far as rides, guests will be separated by empty rows. Six Flags announced its first reopening. Frontier City in Oklahoma City will open June 5th. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has not given the green light for amusement parks to operate in the state just yet, but I know yesterday we announced that water parks will begin to start opening as well. So I'm assuming theme parks are not too far behind. Next up, if you don't want to head out to a theme park this summer, how about camping? Camping this year will be very popular for families, and starting today, Texans will be able to make overnight reservations at state parks for the summer. Texas Parks and Wildlife Department announced visitors can make reservations for arrivals between June 1st and September 7th. Texas Parks and Wildlife said reservations will be limited to varying degrees as the governor reopens Texas. Now, visitors are recommended they wear face masks and bring hand sanitizer. Reservations can be made online at texasstateparks.org. And finally, a first of its kind event here in San Antonio, social distance speed dating. That's right. The Good Kind restaurant in Southtown is opening its outdoor garden lounge for a speed dating event this Saturday. You can search for love 6 feet apart, but tickets are limited to only 20 men and 20 women. The Good Kind states that they are adhering to all regulations and procedures to ensure the safety and well-being of both guests and staff. And you know what? I'm all about safety and protocols, but this, I think, is a good way for people to start socializing again, I think. And it's all safe, and they're 6 feet apart.
I like your
Good
phrase,
idea.
searching for love 6 feet apart. Yep.
Well, it's good to see you again, Erica.
Thank you, Erica. Back to Justin now. It's a dark day in Texas weather history. And boy, I remember the days. It seemed like months and months you could see those just foundations left from the interstate up there in Gerald.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. This was back in 1997. It was on this day in 1997 that we had the Gerald tornado. It was an F5, one of the more powerful storms we've ever seen. It is the 10th deadliest tornado in Texas history as well. But a very busy day up and down I-35 that day in 1997. There were several reports of tornadoes, but this happened to be the biggest one. And we're going to be looking for some more severe weather up and down I-35 a little bit later this afternoon. Meantime, yesterday, we had one storm pop up. This is the radar from yesterday. And we saw that storm pop up right there on the northeast side of town, started producing some hail. We had a couple reports of quarter-size hail, maybe up to golf ball-size hail. Around 4 o'clock, it's moving through the southeast side there of Bexar County, and then eventually moved to the south and east and fell apart. But one storm, but it did drop some pretty good hail for some of us. Right now, we're seeing mostly clear skies here in San Antonio, watching a couple of clouds trying to work in from the north. And we'll see some off and on clouds today, but plenty of sun too, which will boost temperatures. 78 degrees at the airport, 80 right now, Pleasanton, 75 New Braunfels, 72 Kerrville, 79 right now in Carrizo Springs. And there's a look at some of that hail yesterday that fell there around Lavernia. 78 degrees here in town, as we mentioned right now. Dew point is at 70, and we're seeing that dew point really rise. The numbers came down a little bit this morning as far as humidity goes, and that allowed temperatures to be pretty nice, but now the humidity is surging back in. So this is sort of setting the stage here. We're getting some instability in place, and there is our upper level low. Before we look at that, let's talk about what's going on the East Coast. We have Tropical Storm Bertha. It just made landfall around Charleston. This thing was just named a couple of hours ago, but now it has already made landfall, so it's going to fall apart pretty quickly. But the big story here is the heavy rainfall, so they're going to see some flooding rains here in parts of South Carolina. We're also watching what's going on down in Florida. Of course, we got the big launch today. Still some unsettled weather there. They'll have to be on the lookout for whatever develops. And, of course, always a little tricky there when it comes to that sort of thing. Meantime, water vapor does show our upper level low pretty nicely. This is starting to move away. We're on the back side of it, but we've got northwesterly flow on the back side. What happens a lot of times with this sort of flow is we get some storms that develop well to our north, and they can work all the way down into South Texas. We may see some of that today. I think development will actually be probably north and west of Austin, and that'll be late this afternoon and this evening. And for that reason, there is a risk of severe weather today, an enhanced risk, in fact, up and down I-35. So places like Waco, Temple, Austin, down to New Braunfels, that's an area that will be under the gun a little bit later. I think for New Braunfels, probably be later this evening, if not after sunset. Even here in San Antonio, we have a chance to see some storms. So let's look at the futurecast. This is around 5 o'clock. You see some of the storms developing, and then eventually by 10 o'clock, we can see these form into a cluster and work their way south and east. And then by, say, 2 a.m., some of these storms could be moving in around San Antonio in the I-10 corridor, and then eventually falling apart by tomorrow morning. But even tomorrow, we'll have the chance for a couple more storms to develop with that northwesterly flow. I think tomorrow's probably our last day of sort of stormy weather, and even then, I think chances are on the low end tomorrow. But after tomorrow, we should see quieter conditions, but we'll keep a chance in tomorrow afternoon. For today, 91 by 5 o'clock, 84, 8 o'clock, 20% chance of rain, and then we'll up it to a 40% chance by midnight here in San Antonio. 20% chance tomorrow, 88, 89 Friday. And look for some quiet conditions over the weekend, and then to next week, temperatures holding right there around 90 degrees.
Looks beautiful.
Thank you, Justin. I-49, 78 degrees.
You're watching GMSA at 9, and we will be right back. In today's Wish List Wednesday, KSAT Community is highlighting San Antonio Threads, a nonprofit that provides clothing and essential items for at-risk teens in the San Antonio area.
San Antonio Threads in need of donations and volunteers. Some donations include non-perishable food, deodorant, toothpaste, body wash, feminine hygiene products, and new packages of adult underwear.
You can drop off donations Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 10446 Sentinel Street. You can also find more information right now on KSAT.com under the Features tab.
A reminder that Governor Greg Abbott will be holding a press conference this afternoon, giving an update on the pandemic here in Texas.
He will specifically talk about the response efforts in Amarillo, where there's been an increase in COVID-19 cases. A representative from the Texas Division of Emergency Management, Amarillo's mayor, and the Amarillo Public Health Director will also join in.
Press conference expected to start at 2. You can watch it live here on KSAT and online at KSAT.com.
And a reminder, this afternoon you can watch the historic launch of the Kennedy Space Center. The center is not launching itself. The rocket will out of the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. It is scheduled to begin around 3:15, weather permitting.
Yes, it is. And you were just looking live at the launch pad. And as we bring in Justin now, what's based on what you're seeing and hearing so far, what's the prognosis weather-wise for our launch this afternoon, Justin?
Well,
any idea?
They're watching it closely, and there's a few storms there around the where the launch is going to be. So it's one of those.
A little iffy.
It's iffy.
Game time decision.
They're gonna wait probably to the last moment when they have to make that call, but they can always do it in the next couple days. So.
And here at home, we're watching. You said kind of northeast for later.
Yes, chance of storms, especially up there around Austin. But we could see some storms here. I don't want you to think that we couldn't get some of that activity moving this far south. So 40% chance of storms tonight, 20% chance coming up tomorrow, and then quieter by the weekend.
You like cheese puffs?
Love them.
Oh, do you?
You don't love them this much.
You can paint your nails to smell like them.
That's right. Now available at Walmart, the Sweet and Salty collection from Sinful Colors. Not one, but 6 nail polishes, which pay homage to some of our favorite snack foods.
All right, here you go. You can get chocolate cake, cookies and cream, even donuts.
Also cheese puffs in the signature cheese puff color, pizza party, and Taco Tuesday.
They said, though, this is according to this article, it contains some pretty realistic details to recreate and the look and feel of these snacks.
Cheese puff color sports a saturated neon orange hue with a crumbled texture.
Oh, okay. The donut even has glitter that looks like rainbow sprinkles.
Yeah.
Each of the polishes is also scented. The commentator tried the donut polish, reported it, quote, smells
All right,
so
so I
good.
know how badly you want this. I checked Walmart.com, Les,
Yeah, you
and
did?
the multi-pack is already sold out, but there's a few left of the key, especially the cheese puff.
Oh, that's exactly what I wanted.
Like
I mean, it
three
gets all
left.
over your fingers anyway, so why not have your fingernail polish
And,
look like
and
that?
you could probably pick them up at your Walmart.
Yeah, probably.
Mhm.
All right,
Yep.
thanks for doing that research for me.
You're welcome.
Do you remember when KFC had released 2 edible finger-licking good polishes? Do you remember we reported that a long time ago?
Vaguely, yeah.
This isn't really new, but there you go.
They apparently tasted
Okay.
like chicken. That's what it says here. They tasted like chicken.